Jake here for Extreme Terrain, and in this video I'm taking a look at the Red Rock cold air intake with polished finish, fitting 2016 to 2023 3.5 liter Tacomas. This intake is a great option for the Tacoma owner who's seeking a simple way to get a little more sound and performance out of their rig, all for a very budget-friendly price tag. This is a bolt-in, no tune required intake that provides similar benefits to the big name brands for one of the lowest prices in the segment. So what we've got here is actually a pretty nice little piece of kit. The filter itself is a reusable multi-layer oil design, so this does a really good job of filtering out dirt and dust, but it also makes maintenance easy. You don't need to worry about replacing this filter. You can just clean it and re-oil it when it gets dirty, and you're back out on the road. It's a good money savings in the long run if you're planning on keeping your Tacoma a while, which, let's be honest, most owners of Tacomas keep their trucks for quite some time. Since you're not going to have to replace this every time it gets super dirty, you just clean it and get back on the road. Now you also get a Venturi adapter included to smooth out airflow going into the intake tube, which is not something you see with every intake setup. You also get this bright polished aluminum intake tube, which feels pretty nice in your hand, and it's got some nice visual interest to add to your engine bay. Now, my favorite part about an aluminum intake is that these also add some nice intake noise due to the resonance of the metal. So, you get to hear your engine sucking in the air, and to me at least, intake noise is great because it keeps things pretty subdued when you're at low throttle applications, but when you really bury your foot into it, you get a nice growl out of the engine. Now, speaking of interest, perhaps the most interesting part of this kit is that it comes with a heat shield as well. It's a pleasant surprise to see included here, especially at this price point, since many of the less expensive cold air intakes don't include a heat shield, or especially one that's this large. So they aren't necessarily cold air intakes in that situation. However, this one is. Now, having this piece means that your engine is going to be able to more easily pull in that cooler air, as it's going to separate the filter from the rest of the hot engine bay. Now, cooler air means better combustion means more power. And since this intake does not require a tune, you can just bolt it in and enjoy. Plus, that shield comes with some weather stripping to go around the edges, and it's pretty heavy duty stuff, so it's going to do a good job of keeping that heat separated. However, if you do want to get more out of your intake setup, a custom tune is going to make the most of it. And we have several options for that available on the site too, so it's something maybe to think about down the road. The heat shield and intake tube we were discussing are both constructed from high-strength aluminum. The heat shield is finished off in this nice textured black powder coat, while the intake tube again is polished for that nice visual statement. Now, all this makes them light, durable, and heat resistant, so they're going to look good and be corrosion-free for a long time to come. And again, like we were talking about earlier, that filter is a multi-layered oil design, so it too is a pretty quality piece. Should provide a nice upgrade versus your stock paper filter as well. However, the best part of the whole thing here, well, that's likely the price. Coming in at just about $200, this is one of the least expensive intakes you can get for these Tacomas. But despite that budget-friendly price tag, you're still getting a nice quality item for your money. And as compared to other intakes on the market, you're probably going to feel similar gains in overall performance. So this is going to be a good option regardless, but especially so if your build is a bit more budget conscious. Now, as far as installation goes, this one is going to get a 1 out of 3 on our difficulty meter, and you should budget about an hour to get it done. Now, this is a relatively simple install. It's straightforward. You do have a little bit of assembly to do, including the heat shield and a few of these pieces here, but again, nothing you can't handle at home. You get all the clamps and connector pieces and hoses that you'll need as well. But enough of me talking about it. Let's head on out to the shop now, and we'll walk you through that process.
For this install, you need a 3/8 and a 1/4 ratchet, a 3/8 and a 1/4 extension, a cutting tool, a 7, an 8, a 10, 12, and 13 millimeter socket, a 4 millimeter Allen wrench, 10 millimeter wrench, a clip removal tool, Phillips head screwdriver, and a pair of pliers. All right, today we're going to be installing an intake on our Tacoma, but first we're going to watch a quick video how to install the stock intake, and then we'll come back here to install the new one.
So our first step is very easy. We just have to pop off our engine cover and get that out of the way so we can access our intake and our throttle body here. Next, we can remove this hose on the side. I have a pair of pliers. Just gonna clamp that clamp down and pull back. All right, move that out of the way. Then we can disconnect our MAF sensor over here. So I just have a small flathead screwdriver. There is a clip holding in our wiring harness. I'm gonna undo that, get that out of the way. So we can press down on the wiring harness here and pull back. You should hear a little click. We can get that out of the way as well. So there is another clip on the back here that's connected to our resonator. Should be pretty easy to pop out. If that gives you some trouble, you can use a trim removal tool or a flathead, but it should be pretty simple. Now we can loosen up our clamps. Then we can loosen up the one that's on our air box and our intake tube using the same 10mm socket. Should be able to wiggle off our intake tube after both of those are disconnected. Get that out of the way, and we can work on our air box. Our next step is to take off the top of our air box and take out our filter so we can access bolts underneath. All we have to do is push forward on these clamps and unhook them. And we should be able to very easily pop that out. This is where we can access our filter. It's just a drop-in filter, so we can take that out. And there are 2 bolts in the inside of our air box that we have to remove. Now we can remove the 2 bolts on the inside of our air box using a 12mm socket. I'm also using a 5-inch extension to give myself a little bit of room just because this is pretty deep here. So we do have one more bolt on the outside here that's holding our air box in place. We're going to use that same 12mm socket and extension to remove that. After those 3 bolts are removed, we can wiggle out our air box and we're ready for install.
All right, before we start assembling our new intake, first thing we need to do is swap over our mass airflow sensor. So we're just gonna grab our Phillips head screwdriver and take it off our stock intake. All right, now we can just grab our new intake tube and we can install it here. We just gotta take our Phillips head screws out here. All right, and just reinstall our Phillips head screws. All right, now we can assemble our box. So you can see we have our outer shell and then our bottom. So our bottom is gonna go on the inside of our outer. Then we're gonna take our small black Allen bolts, a flat washer, and the locking nut, and put them through all 5 spots going around. All right, now we can go around, we can grab our 4mm Allen wrench and a ratchet with an 8mm socket and tighten all them down. All right, you're just gonna find this channel on the bottom and just push it around the outer edge. Just work your way around. All right, if you have a little extra here at the end, you can just trim that off. All right, just grab a knife or a cutting tool, just trim that. All right, then we're gonna take our air filter and our adapter, and we already have our hose clamp around our filter. Just gonna slide it in and tighten our clamp using the 8mm socket. All right, now into the bottom of the box, we just have to mount our bracket. It's gonna mount with one of our longer bolts here, and 2 flat washers and a locking nut. So we're gonna grab our 1 bolt, flat washer, put our bracket on the bottom here, flat washer, and then locking nut. Gonna grab our ratchet and our wrench, both 10mm, and tighten it down. All right, we're now going to install our mounting points for our new box into our fender liner here. So we have our 2 smaller ones. We'll mount here and here. Right here. Just screw them in by hand. And the third one will go farther down by the power steering fluid. All right, and then our third one mounts down here. All right, now we can set our air box into place. This bracket will go over the stud that we just mounted in there. And then we have 2 of our bolts. So we're gonna have a bolt, a lock washer, and a flat washer. And I'll go over the 2 mounting brackets in the back. All right, we're just gonna thread these in by hand. All right, now we're gonna put our flat washer and nut on our stud down at the bottom. All right, our nut down here is a 13mm nut. Just gonna grab our ratchet and tighten that down. All right, and our other 2 ones in here are 10mm. All right, now we're gonna start assembling our intake. First thing we're gonna do is just slide our filter into our box, grab our intake pipe, slide our 1 coupler on here, slide our other coupler on with the smaller side towards the throttle body. All right, all 4 clamps are the same size. Just gonna slide them over. All right, we're just gonna hold our filter up and slide it over, and then slide it over our throttle body. Everything adjusted in place. Then we can tighten all of our clamps down. Grab our ratchet with a 7mm socket and tighten them down. We can grab our connector for our mass airflow sensor, plug that in, plug our tube in, and then this clamp is actually easy to squeeze with your fingers. You can use a pair of pliers if you need. Just move it into position. All right, now wraps up our install of our Red Rock cold air intake. It's polished for a 2016 to 2023 3.5 liter Tacoma. And remember, for everything Tacoma, keep it right here at extremeterrain.com.